Hey everybody, what's up and welcome back to the channel. More Birthright for you here as we're working our way into some of the Voss realms. Today we're taking a look at one of the smaller ones, and that's Melyy. It's neutral and it is off on the far eastern coast, but has some interesting things going on despite its small size. So as it says, small and sparsely settled, the unobtrusive realm of Melyy recently underwent an amazing metamorphosis. Most of its farmers and fishermen have abandoned their occupations to seek silver in the Orleanaskaya Mountains. Farms quickly became grubstakes and fisheries shipping agents as silver fever swept the land. So it is fairly well populated. You got a couple of level 3 provinces, but then you have a 5. So for the size of the realm, you're doing pretty well there. Law isn't established everywhere, and there's minuscule temples. There's certainly a lot of guild activity and some sources. So let's figure out what's all going on here. The law is controlled here. Zor, play on Tsar. Zor Ivan Polovich, level 6 fighter, solid bloodline. Took over Melyy's rulership nearly 2 decades ago when hardly more than 24 families lived in all 3 provinces. Now, crippled by a battle wound, he tries desperately to rule a tiny realm nearly 100 times its former population. As sick as he was of war, he was even sicker of war priests. He actively discouraged the founding of temples in Melyy and was until recently successful. Now the Temple of Might in Velanoye, led by the winter witch Lida Marnorin, who's a level 10 priest of Krisha and a small bloodline, has moved in, and that we'll see is some source of problems and friction. The guilds, Jana Kurovin, level 8 thief, minuscule bloodline there, must have some Brecht blood in her. At least that's what her detractors say. She established the first mine at the source of the Hook River only a few days after a lucky prospector found the first silver. Now she controls virtually all trade within the realm. And then on the sources, the dread Firosk Slektra, level 17 wizard, which again in this setting is super powerful. I mean, level 17 is nothing to sneeze at in any setting or campaign, but for Birthright there's so few true wizards, and even some of the more notorious ones we've seen starting all the way back with the Annuiran realms are not necessarily at that level. So that's pushing up there towards the Gorgon's wizard level as well. So that's very potent, although surprisingly not a higher bloodline to go with that. But interestingly, too, the deity that goes with that, so that's worth noting. Anyway, of Gravnikivik controls the only source here, and much to the realm's relief, seldom visits her holding. Now, a little bit of a discrepancy there. There are, in fact, 2 sources. So, Luxor and Temir, once the farming and fishing provinces, remain under the control of the Zor. No one has yet claimed rulership of Buzu, as we can see, and we'll see that on the map. There is literally no law there. So now Regency and Treasury, should you want to get into the realm. So a fair bit generated and a lot accumulated. So you have plenty of points to spend on whatever your goals and plans are. And the Treasury, again, we're not in the Brecht realms anymore, so we got to get used to smaller treasuries. But for sort of the first of the real Voss realms here, and given as small as it is, that's a solid little treasury. Even has an army and a navy. So until recently, he's had little need for an army. Fortunately, he hasn't had any trouble raising a small one. So you got 3 units of irregulars, a unit of merc, infantry, and scouts. So certainly not elite or really going to win any major wars here, but enough of a defensive force. But that certainly could be whipped up into a little bit of a bigger army with some better units. And there's resources to do it. The navy is actually surprisingly decent. So includes ships used by the Hook River Guild for the export of silver and the import of men and supplies. So you got 3 keelboats, 1 drakkar, and a long ship. So let's get into the regent here. He's gained fame as a warrior in the wars between Velnoye and the Sword Rust tribes. Became such a respected leader that when he lost his left foot in battle, the former Tsar awarded him rulership of tiny, unimportant Melyy as a reward rather than following the usual Voss practice of slaying or abandoning crippled warriors. How thoughtful. At the time, this Melyy's sole purpose for existing was to provide food for Velanoye's troops. the tiny fishing village of Rodina had a small garrison of soldiers dedicated to raiding the countryside periodically as a form of taxation. Ivan made some changes. So, he encouraged his troops to protect the peasants from predations of the sword rust tribes and other creatures from the mountains, and to help settle disputes between landowners. So Melyy began very slowly to grow and prosper. Shocking what happens when you don't just raid and pillage your fellow people. Still, even a single bad winter or vicious raiding party would have spelled disaster. Then, one of Ivan's old soldiers, looking around Buzu for a farmstead he could settle after his retirement, discovered silver near the base of the eastern Orlan-Naskie mountains. He brought word back to Rodina, and within a few weeks the sleepy realm turned into a land teeming with prospectors. The Zor, much to his dismay, has had to come out of retirement in a desperate attempt to maintain, some would say, or restore order in the realm. So, taking a look here, so again, nice that they include that sort of mini map here. So yeah, super tiny realm, the more populated here on the coast. You got Rodina, Luxor, and then Buzu, where the mines and the mountains are. A little bit there though, but yeah, the main thing is, it's got still frontier, very like low population density and all that, but literally no law holdings there. So it is in that sense true lawless territory and frontier. So, though Melyy has not become directly involved in the Torva versus Nona struggle, again, we'll reference that in another video. That's part of the cultural issue with the the Voss here, as they struggle between more ancient, brutal traditions, which they're more known for, and maybe trying to sort of form or reform themselves into something a little more civilized. But most people believe that the Zor would side with the progressive Nona faction if the situation demanded an alliance. Currently, Silver Fever is basically drawing everyone's attention, so they can kind of put the political identity struggles aside for the time being. He does have 2 lieutenants. The first came with him from Villanoye and fought with him against the Sword Rust tribes. You have Lenora Wolfskane, level 6 ranger, was a tough woman in her youth and has gotten tougher as she approaches middle age. She remains fiercely loyal to Ivan and guards him and his realm against those who would deprive him. If war were to come, she would serve as the realm's Zareva. The other lieutenant is a newcomer, Luther, literally just Luther, but not that Luther. Level 5 thief, came from Brechtur some 3 years ago and ingratiated himself with the aging Zor. He helped improve what little trade Melyy sponsored at the time and was in the midst of starting up his own guild when the Silver Madness hit. Now he oversees negotiations between the Zor and the Hook River miners. Got some other important NPCs before we take a mid-video break here, and we'll kind of continue on with the rest. So, Yana Koruven, Guildmaster of the Hook River Miners, may be the most important person in the realm, even more so than the Zor. Using guile, good timing, and a ruthless business sense, she's managed to parlay a prospector's lucky strike into a booming mining business. Silver Fever is everywhere, so think like incorporating this into your campaigns. Think, like Wild West, Gold Rush, that kind of vibe and setting. That's something you can incorporate here. Silver Fever has seized the realm, and nearly everyone is trying to make a profit from it, and they'll have to do it through Yana. The Hook River Guild does not limit its efforts to mining. She owns most of the stores, inns, and outfitters in Melyy, so she's really just taken on all parts of sort of the economic cycle here. She still steps lightly around the Zor, however, and has not made any obvious attempts to wrest the rulership of the realm from him. Some believe that if she took over the rulership of the province of Buzu, which she could do easily, this accommodating relationship would end, and certainly that could be a trigger for a more openly hostile attitude, maybe even sort of a splitting away. Certainly there's no law holdings there. She could very well at least start with a law 0 and maybe see what the reaction would be, and maybe just gradually try to wrest control of that whole province to herself, and maybe even have like a little breakaway realm. Certainly if she would build up some power of her own as far as forces, that could be done, but she's got her fingers in all the economic activity, or most of it. Now then there's Yuri the Elder, level 5 fighter, launched all the trouble surrounding the mines. He found the first silver in the eastern mountains there, and almost got killed for his trouble. Some say the Zor tried to eliminate the old soldier before word of the discovery got out. Others believe Yana took measures to establish and maintain her monopoly. Whichever is the case, Yuri the Elder has disappeared into the mountains. Every so often, his son, Yuri the Younger, comes to Rodina or one of the mining camps to buy supplies, and he always pays with pure silver. So it could be a fun adventure hook there. Maybe there's some other undiscovered treasures, or just figuring out what happened with the Elder there. So that could be a fun sort of fact-finding quest, adventure line, maybe even a rescue if the Zor wanted him back, or something along those lines. So it could be interesting, or just to figure out really why he disappeared too. Maybe there's other things going on. So from there, let's take a quick look at the description of the realm. So it's protected from the coldest northern winds by the Orlenske mountains and the tall trees of the Grovnikivek forest. It's got a fairly moderate climate most of the year. Winter is only about 4 or 5 months, and the summer growing season stretches 3 to 4 months as well. It's no longer known as a farming and fishing realm. Again, it's really just all about the buzz with the silver fever and the mining. So many farms have been sold or abandoned, and by the Voss peasants eager to search for silver. So yeah, why live the hard life of a peasant toiling away when you might strike it rich in the mountains? So the capital, silver has made Rodina wild. Once a fishing village with the huts and long, low structures typical of Voss peasant settlements, it has branched out with hastily constructed, ill-conceived neighborhoods, so kind of like a boom town, but here also the capital of a realm. The city lurches forward and backward at will, ready to become a true city or a ghost town at any time. And really we should have sort of like miniature versions of that, little boom town mining camps and stuff all over in that province too, as far as that part of the adventures and the adventuring in the realm. Sites, lawless mines and mining camps owned by the Hook River Guild dominate the Buzu province. Any man or woman arriving there can work the mines or camps according to personal talents and preferences, as long as they supply themselves and pay an 80% share to the guild. Wow. This usurious percentage hardly daunts those who come to the area, as many believe they can strike it rich quick, pay off Yana, and get out fast. Or maybe not pay her off and just get out fast. So a lot of interesting bits there. So again, very much like a Wild West frontier vibe here. Very lawless, right? There's nothing in place. The Zor's reach doesn't really extend out here. So, you can make it that type of campaign as far as adventuring in and around there go. But if you're ruling the realm and trying to gain control here, that's where that conflict between yourself and Yana might erupt, as far as really trying to take more control of this and have a realm that's not going to be predicated on the sort of the boom and bust of what typically will happen once the silver runs out and the mining goes away. You have a chance for the whole realm to progress into something different and new, but it could also just as easily fall back into the more barbaric ways once that happens. So we'll take a quick pause here, guys, and then we will take a look at the second half of the description for the realm. Alrighty, guys, let's continue on here. So let's take a look at the allies that we have. So Velinoye was considered Melyy's fatherland until recently, and should, but maybe not, be its closest ally. This friendship has not been put to the test recently, and the raiders of Velinoye may develop a taste for Melyy silver with the gold or the silver rush fever, rather. So you have that could take any particular turn. And something sort of a swerve that DM could throw at the players. Enemies, again, Melyy once supplied Velinoye with food and other goods so that its raiders could concentrate on business and fight the occasional war against the Sword Rust tribes. The Orogs and other humanoids of the mountains haven't forgotten this, so in addition, they can't be happy about the Voss pulling tons of silver out of the, quote-unquote, their mountains. So the usual assortment of bad guys there as far as the Orogs and other humanoids go. So that's something the player could certainly pull out, and kind of an interesting contrast there, since there's no law in that province, but there could be, sort of an outbreak of the humanoids sort of overrunning the all the different like silver camps and things like that, mining camps, and causing problems. So you have that sort of that third threat there. third-party threats that could disrupt all of that and this newfound prosperity, which could push the guild leader more towards maybe wanting to work more closely with the ruler of the country versus this back behind the scenes independence. So yeah, lots of fruitful potential there for how we want to treat the humanoid invasion. Could always just be some of this looming threat, but then occasionally have these bursts of attacks and things like that the players would hopefully have to interact with and try to clean up. And how they handle that could take the various relations of the interested parties in interesting directions. So then what they've been doing for these realm descriptions, since at this point they didn't have any more of these sort of player secrets books that were released, and they never did really do like a DM series, they started including that really in the realm descriptions for the Voss. So that's actually pretty cool. So player secrets, again, this would be secrets and rumors would be known to any character who adventures or rules in the country. So facts, any region who collects gold bars from province taxation or from guild or temple collection in Melyy can go boom or bust, depending on the output of the mines. So this is a neat feature, and this is something we could just take and incorporate into other areas. So taking this back to Baruka Zeke, if we go to the Enuiran realms, and any other realm that's kind of tied to sort of again, like a boom or bust type of industry. So if the regent rolls the maximum result possible on a roll to collect gold bars, the mines in that province or near the holding have experienced a boom. The regent rolls again, adding the new result to the original. Only one bonus die roll is allowed. So if Zor Ivan applies a moderate taxation to the province of Temir, he rolls d6 plus 1. If he rolls a 6 for a result of 7, then he can roll again and add that to the 7. So if you roll another 6, you'd actually collect 13 gold bars, which is pretty cool in the sense of just the sheer amount that you can collect there and really really grow the treasury. But as you can go boom, you can also go bust. So if the regent rolls the minimum, then the mines experience a bust, and actually no GB are generated by the nearest mines. The region also risks a level 1 or 1 level reduction in the holding or province he tried to collect from, since people have abandoned their daily lives to work the mines. There is a 10% cumulative chance that the holding will drop 1 level if the mines go bust on a consecutive turn. The chance increases after 6 consecutive turns. So, for example, up to 60%. Level 0 holdings are not reduced in this way, and levels can be restored through normal means. But yeah, so even if you build up your holdings, there's a chance here for them to go bust. So that's a nice risk reward system that we can incorporate and take into other types of holdings in some of the territories we've covered so far, based on would it make sense to do this. So that's a neat mechanic. A taxation or collection roll that has the possibility of generating a 0 or negative number because of modifiers, though cannot go boom or bust. So that's an interesting mechanic there. Now, rumors, these are always the fun ones because these are where we can incorporate some fun one-off adventures, or even make them more of a part of a larger campaign focus. So Yuri the Elder has found the Mother Lode somewhere in the eastern Olena Sky Mountains. Unfortunately, a band of Orogs has found him and is currently torturing him to find out the location of the mine. Yuri the Younger, again, we've seen that in the description of the realm earlier, needs help rescuing his father, but Yana Kuruvin will help only if the son reveals the mine's location. She's kept Yuri from appealing to the Zors so far. So, again, so you have that she's not really working in the realm's best interest. She's working really for her interest. So, this would be one where maybe the Zor is actually tasking you to find Yuri the Younger to figure out what happened to Yuri the Elder, and maybe the players are stymied in their efforts, and then they can't necessarily figure out why they're having this trouble. So if it's revealed that Yana is causing these problems, maybe that will change this to, hey, we're bringing her to task to deal with the Zor, and have to answer for what the heck she's doing, and why that's why she's sort of hindering what is good for the realm here, especially since she's not a ruler in that sense. So that could be one where that leads to maybe the Zor trying to actually take a little bit of control in the Buzu province, and maybe trying to establish a bit of base law out there, which again could cause some rifts and conflicts with sort of the just the Wild West frontier attitude of that province, with all the the mining camps and things like that. So some neat things there, but being able to, as we said, with the enemies of the realm and the humanoids and stuff like that, maybe wanting a measure of revenge in this case. Wanting themselves to strike it rich with this massive mine, that intersects with some of these other campaign ideas here, where we, on the one hand, we could have a rescue type of mission, sort of like maybe like a stealth infiltration to find where this camp is of the Orogs, rescue Yuri the Younger, race back to the Zor, maybe even avoid some actual attacks from Yana's henchmen and things like that, and maybe actually exposing her that she even tried to attack Yuri the Younger and your forces, and maybe that leads to sort of the downfall of her guild, or some measure of maybe like the Zor actually takes sort of state control and nationalizes the guild and the mining operations. So there's just a lot of neat little paths that we could take there, but that could be sort of a very fast-paced adventure, and maybe part of a campaign arc as well. Next up, the same rumor as above, but the Zor and Yana's roles are reversed. The Zor doesn't want the word of the mine leaked out. He fears that more treasure hunters will invade his kingdom, and Yana actually wants to rescue Yuri in the hope that he'll share some mineral wealth. So same as above, but again, just reversing different things. In this case, we're making the Zor out to be not necessarily the bad guy, but someone who, for legit reasons, doesn't want more treasure hunters just invading the realm to take from the realm, but rather try to contribute to building the realm. So Yana in this case would be seen as more of the protector, and again, same thing, we'd maybe be out to find where Yuri is, rescue him, but then in this case dodge the Zor's forces as far as getting him out of there and keeping him safe. So, but if you were perhaps initially working on behalf of the Zor and maybe hindering his forces, that could lead to some conflict there. Maybe having you rebranded as outlaws for hindering him too. So again, just different ways depending on how the DM wants to take that for you and how the players interact with that. So that maybe you could have some fun and play with that, as far as maybe the players think it is one way at first, like the Zor is the good guy, but really then come to find out, no, he's just having you go after him to essentially keep Yuri silent, or just further from revealing anything, and especially to Yana. So then maybe there's like a role reversal sort of midway through the adventure, if the players can find it, or something where maybe the players are still blissfully unaware, but then when the Zor's forces maybe show up before they make it back to the capital and demand to have Yuri handed over, that the players suddenly realize that, oh wait, no, the Zor is really not necessarily the good guy in this scenario. So many different ways that we can approach that. So that's a neat little contrast there. And then finally, both Yana and the Zor favor the Nona faction that is slowly and secretly winning over Melyy's people, but each wants to be proclaimed the favorite of the progressive Voss. Each has resolved to look good in the eyes of the emerging Nona Voss, or to make the other look bad. So again, there's that not necessarily open conflict just yet, but this is that tension that's been brewing underneath everything. So there's the conflict between the sort of more traditional brutal Voss and this emerging Nona faction, where they're trying to modernize a little bit and not just be bloodthirsty savages. So now they're both ironically on the same side of that cultural discussion, but they're, for various reasons, wanting to be the face of that. So you have the established leader versus sort of the upstart guild leader, who's certainly out for profit, but may have ambitions of wanting to rule that province by herself, and maybe if the Zors are already kind of getting older, to really sort of be the next in line for that. But that could then, depending on how the campaign goes, brew its way into maybe something like a bit of a civil war at the extreme end of that. And it could almost be like a three-way faction battle there in the realm. You have sort of both sides of the Nona faction here, with the official ruler, Yana's forces, but then also versus the traditionalists. And really just for a little bit of fun chaos, we could then throw in those who are just actual enemies of the realm, and maybe trying to play them all against each other too. So maybe there could be some sort of triggering event that really does unite the people there to sort of finally push one of the leaders over the top, or certainly that faction. So many fun intersections with that. We haven't really had much in the way of sort of cultural battles in the Birthright campaign so far. The Anywhere setting is pretty much fixed as is. Your typical medieval setting, the Brechts, which we just covered, that more mercantile area. So the Voss here, as they're sort of trying to emerge from their more brutal history, have this sort of emerging cultural identity conflict going, which we have some similarities to that with the Rurik eventually. So it's just some neat ideas here to really, again, take Birthright in some interesting directions. Finally, when Melyy and Villenoye broke off their official vassal-overlord relationship, it was not without some hard feelings. Melyy had suffered several winters of barely supporting itself, much less being able to contribute to Villenoye's coffers. So Zor Ivan proposed that Villenoye send Melyy a peace chest, a small treasury of GB, and emergency supplies the tiny realm could use to get back on its feet and maintain itself. The current Zara of Villenoye refused and told Ivan that he and his people could fall off the Lutovsky Peninsula. Villenoye owed nothing to Melyy, and vice versa. So some hard feelings there. But this breakdown occurred mere weeks before Yuri's Silver Strike. Now, though, the Zara of Villenoye wonders if Zor Ivan planned the whole thing. Zor Ivan and Yana Kurovin have both heard that Villenoye's raiders plan an attack on Luxor and possibly a naval assault on Rodina. They've kept this rumor quiet so far, fearing a panic, but they desperately need a solution. So we have that sort of existential crisis to go on top of the sort of looming cultural battle. So that's another one that the player can sort of just to sort of add a little bit more stress and sort of looming. There's something, there's some sort of conflict brewing aside from the obvious, and then maybe player, the DM sprinkles just some rumors here and there, especially if the players are adventuring a little bit closer to those borders on occasion. So we have that internal cultural conflict with the Voss that we just talked about with the other rumors and stuff. We got the humanoid threat as well, and then this threat of sort of former vassal, or in this case overlord realm, saying, no, hey, you guys can go kick rocks. You're on your own. But now that you've had a sort of a change in fortunes as far as discovering all this wealth and silver, and this kind of also helps explain the Zor's position of, well, hey, they didn't want to help us, and there's already it's already known that there's this silver boom going on, but we don't want more and more people coming in, especially those who don't have the best intentions of the realm at heart. And certainly don't want to entice then a larger, more powerful realm into maybe an actual invasion. Again, given Melyy's sort of minuscule defense forces, we won't really call it a true army. But so you have just some wonderful intersecting threats, internal, external, culturally as well. So plenty of fertile and fun ground for the DM to have fun with. So let us know, guys. I know this one's a super long one for such a tiny realm, but there's just so much neat stuff that they're covering here. So let us know if you've had an adventure in Melyy. Maybe you want to try it after seeing the video here, and have some fertile ideas. Let me know how you'd handle sort of that Wild West type potential here in a campaign with sort of instead of a gold rush, a silver rush, and how we could incorporate that into just D&D as well, but also the uniqueness here of Birthright, and maybe some of these ideas that we could incorporate into some of the other realms that could have similar situations that we've already covered. So thanks so much for watching. Hit us up in the comments, like and subscribe, and if you want to see videos like this early, along with some other unique content, head over to our Patreon. Plenty of different tiers. We have some free tiers, and then also the ones that help support the channel, again with some extra content for you guys there. Thanks so much. We'll see you in the next one.